committee. Yes, sir. Have you heard anything about Riders Road?
No, I have not. So I don't know. Everybody please rise. Councilmember Moulton, lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, Lord, we ask for your anointing to be in the midst of this meeting. Bless every citizen, every representative. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilmember Dietz. Logan.
Here.
Blevins.
Here.
Sansing.
Here.
Ray.
Here.
Mashburn.
Here.
Trailer.
Here.
Twitty.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Raines. I have two absent, sir,
I'm here.
and you are here.
I am here. Okay. So before us, we have the presentation of the minutes of the May 19th meeting, and I did hear a motion to approve May 5th meeting.
Second.
All right, got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. Okay, it's carried. Now that brings us to, we don't have a consent agenda since it went out right at the end of the month, or it may be before. So we'll have that on our next meeting. First item of business, we have a final plat for Notting Hill subdivision. Councilmember Dietz sitting here to explain, but I'm going to ask Public Work Director Jimmy Oakley, and I believe your engineer Tony Bond is here.
Yep.
And so if he'd like to come up, he could. And would you introduce Adam?
Yes, council, I'd like to introduce you Adam Whitlow. He's our new engineer. He'll be coming in, started this week. Adam?
He started the first.
Yep, June 1st. Glad to have him. We're doing a lot of new ones.
Nice to meet you.
Back my place. The Public Works Office would like to recommend we pass this final plat. All water, sewer, easements, and right-of-ways have been good, and everybody's satisfied. The streets are built in standard condition. Sidewalks will be forthcoming. We'd like to hold off keeping trucks from breaking those up, but the builder has agreed to get those in. And any questions?
Council have any questions of Bond Engineering? Or this is land out on General Samuels that was part of the land swap, if y'all remember that we did. So there's another subdivision about to go to drawing and start out there as well. And this is phase one of this one, correct? So yeah, we could be looking at several phases in the future, yeah.
Motion to
Mr. Mayor, I
approve
moved it, the
final
final plat
Second.
for the Notting Hill subdivision.
Okay, did you already make a motion down there, Mike?
Nah, go ahead, Reedy.
All right, Reedy made the motion, Barbara seconded it, all right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for your good hard work. Greg, take care. Okay, that brings us to our next item of business, which is public hearing, and that, I'm not going to open it just yet. I want to say a few things. Obviously, we have an issue that people care about, and it's very emotional. And so I want to give everybody a chance to talk. I don't want to say only one person can talk. So I want to give everybody, what we don't need is to repeat the same information over and over. And we're going to limit your time to 2 minutes. And so, please have your thoughts together. I think we want to move this along as quickly as possible, but we want it to be fair to everybody, both sides that's represented here, and maybe 3 sides, I don't know, whatever sides there are. So we just want to be fair. And the other thing is to make comments. We ask that you live in the city of Jacksonville, because this is a city of Jacksonville ordinance that we're discussing. And so therefore, it should be the citizens of Jacksonville that we could hear their voice. And so, thank you. All right, so at 6:04, officially open the public comment hearing. And so, who wants to go first? Right back here. And I want you to state your name and where you live.
Before he speaks, should we recognize the alternate who's the sponsor?
Good evening. My name is Tim Hammond.
Should
I
I?
live on 104 Harold Street.
Speak to the, get closer to the mic or pick up the little mic.
You hear me? Is that better?
I think you did do better on one of the smaller mics.
All right.
Excuse me. Before you start,
Yes,
I think the council member that's sponsoring. should
okay.
say-
Councilmember Blevins, or something you'd like to speak?
Sure. I brought this forward because there is multiple reasons for this to pass. Just for the fact that it's another item that keeps people out of the city. There's no action if someone does get their pet taken away from them. There's a lot of misinformation that's being said about how bad this situation is, and not to mention we're overstaffed, or over critical mass inside the animal shelter right now. And if we don't do something, what's going to end up resulting is we're going to have to end up putting these dogs down to make room. And the whole thing with the city is like, we want to be a low-kill shelter. This is something that needs to be changed for a long time, and nationwide they're already looking at repealing this as it is. So let's just get a jump on it.
Okay, now go ahead and restate your name and who you
All
are.
right. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
My name's Tim Hamby. I live on 104 Harold Street.
From the microphone, Rich.
Which
yeah,
one?
you can pick it up and hold it,
Okay.
or sit in the chair, or whatever, yeah.
All right. Is that better?
That's good.
Okay. All right. My name's Tim Hamby. I live at 104 Harold Street off of Graham Road. Okay. I am opposed to letting them back in for a personal reason. Have any of y'all ever been attacked by a dog? You know anybody that has been?
Yes,
Okay.
no, yeah.
Cannot give you the exact date, but if you need it, I can get it. Okay. My oldest son is now 30. He was 11 at the time. We were living on Towering Oaks. Saturday morning, what do kids do on Saturday mornings? They go outside and play. Okay. My 5-year-old daughter's wanting to go outside and play, and I won't let her. I make her stay in the house because we weren't out there with them. All the kids are out there in the street. The particular dog, not only did this dog go through extensive lengths to get to my child, this dog knew my child. My child had been in the yard with the dog. He knew the kids. They were all out there playing. I think one of the big things they have is they need to be in a pen and then in a fenced-in yard. This particular dog was. Individual pen and a dog, and he fenced around the yard. This dog jumped both fences, attacked my child in the middle of the street, pinned him down, chewed on him. He got up, started running to the house, got him again, put him on the ground again. Okay? I'm not sure if you know where Towering Oaks is, how the street is set up. I live dead center. Okay? There was a Pulaski County Sheriff that lived on the other end. There was an 18-year-old boy on that end that ran from that end to where this happened to get the dog off my child to where he could get in the house. Okay? He gets in the house, he starts hollering, he needs to go to the emergency room. Of course, we're trying to figure out why. We get up, we go into the kitchen, and literally there's blood all over his leg, all over the kitchen floor. Okay?
Okay, wrap it up here 2 minutes.
Okay. When this is over with, I go outside to find out what's going on. That dog is sitting on my front porch, waiting for him to come back outside. Okay. There's been over 3,300 attacks on humans by pit bulls. The next one closest is a Rottweiler at 500 and something. That's a big difference.
Thank you, your time is up, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, I would like to rotate these sides, so if somebody wants to speak for removing the ban, come forward, state your name, address.
Can members hear me? My name is Matt. I live off Lynn Lane, off Old Tom Box Road. And I do feel bad for that.
You're not in the city limits?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's-
I've asked the people that live within the city, because we can't pass any ordinance that has anything to do outside of the city. This ban does not pertain to the county.
Okay.
There is no, sorry, thank you for being here, though. So, someone else that lives in the city would like to speak in favor?
My name is Teresa Rainey, and I have laryngitis. I'm sorry. I live at 605 Alta Lane here in Jacksonville.
Yes, it is.
Yes. I'm sorry, I can't talk real good. But I am for lifting the ban because I know too many little pitties that are just as passive as my little Maltese. In fact, my Maltese is more aggressive than the pitties that I know. They deserve a chance to live. They deserve a chance to be like any other animal, as long as everybody follows the law and does what they're supposed to do. You've got to keep your animals under control no matter what kind of animal you have.
That's great.
I mean, I love little pitties, you know. I personally don't have a little pitty, but I know a lot of people that do, and I've never even seen a mean one. I'm sure there is mean ones, just like the young man before. But I believe it's all in the way the pup is raised. I mean, you can raise any animal to be aggressive, but I don't believe that all pitties are aggressive. I don't believe all Chihuahuas are aggressive. I just think that it depends on how you raise that puppy or a cat or any animal. You can make any animal mean. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, I just believe that they deserve a chance to live. I really do. And to be part of the family, just like any other animal. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else here to speak against lifting the ban? Yes, ma'am, state your name.
I'm
and
not
address.
against lifting the ban, but I would like to speak.
Okay,
My name is Jill Jewett. I live at 3000 Northeastern here in Jacksonville. And this ban, I can say that in the last 2 years, I have seen it impact economic growth. Let me boil that down. I've had 4 different family members move from out west, come here, start businesses, start off here in Jacksonville because it's closer to us. And they bought houses elsewhere because of this ban. I want to make that clear. That is a very real thing. I have friends who are in Arkansas, when they go to buy homes, won't look in Jacksonville because of this ban. It really is a very uneducated thing. The information going around doesn't support the national data from the ERs, from the insurance companies. It just doesn't. I'm sorry for that. I know some people are scared of dogs. They are. I have previous experience from working at the Humane Society. And I'm sorry, my dash hounds are going to eat you if you come into my front door. My brother's pit bull will not.
okay.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
We don't have a particular order, so if somebody would like to speak, raise your hand or step forward, okay?
I haven't been in Arkansas very long, haven't been in Jacksonville very long. My name is Debbie Farner. I live on Danbury Cove in Stonewall. I just wanted to give a few facts about pit bulls. My son won't move here. I moved here from New York. My son won't move here. I can't see my grandson. I have to drive to New York because of the pit bull law. His pit bull sleeps with his baby, his 4-month-old baby. There's no issues. But I want to give you some facts. There's a myth that pit bull type dogs are more dangerous than other dogs. There's a 10-year study of dog bite related fatalities that identified multiple factors associated with the dog bite fatalities. So specifically concluded that the breed was not one of the factors. The study also concluded that media reports on bite-related incidents are prone to significant breed identification error rates of over 40%. If they don't know what the dog is, they're going to tell you it's a pit bull. And over 60% of the dogs in shelters are misidentified as pit bulls. Vets can't tell you it's a pit bull without a DNA test unless they know both parents. And it has to be more than 50% pit bull to be considered pit bull. Even though pit bull is not a breed, it is a group of dogs that people are afraid of. And they're wonderful dogs. People think they have this locking jaw that's so much harder than any other animal. That's a myth. There's no such thing as a locking jaw. No dogs of any breed have a locking jaw. There's a peer-reviewed study that analyzed 140 serious dog bite-related incidents. They concluded there is no difference in medical treatment from a pit bull type dog, or as my dogs are, golden retrievers, or German shepherds, or a poodle. There's no difference.
Okay, you're headed towards 2 minutes, so
Okay.
wrap it up as quick as possible.
People say pit bulls are more aggressive. They're not more aggressive. It's all in how you take care of your dog, how you raise your dog. If a dog's mistreated, if my golden retrievers were beat up, I used to take care of a bunch of golden retrievers for fosters. I had one that was miserable because she was beat up. She would bite my hand if I let her. 99% of golden retrievers aren't going to bite your hand. 99% of pit bulls aren't going to bite my hand. It's all in how they're treated, how they're raised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy Wadecamper, and I live at 532 Ricky Raccoon Drive in Jacksonville. And it's easier for me if I just read a little prepared statement. It'll be quicker probably for you all too. On May the 25th, I sent an email to all the council members, mayor, and police chief asking to have the breed-specific pit bull ban repealed. There are many negative websites about pit bull dogs. I sent you my research on several professional organizations with experts in veterinary medicine, animal behavior, and dog genetics. All of these organizations do not support the breed-specific legislation. Excuse me.
Don't be nervous.
It's easy to say. They do not support the breed-specific legislation or the pit bull ban. The current city ordinance has a dangerous animal policy already. It's not necessary or fair to ban a certain dog based solely on its breed when they have not been vicious or have not done anything wrong. Or they have not done anything wrong. The idea that there are some owners not following the rules, and by lifting the ban, there'll be more owners not following the rules, is extremely unfair to the good pit bull owners who want to follow the rules and be responsible so that those rules will allow them to have their beloved pets in the city of Jacksonville. This ban is punishing the responsible citizens because of the irresponsible behavior of others. Please repeal the pit bull ban and the specific breed legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry if she starts alerting. My heart rate is very high. My name is Caitlin. My name is Caitlin Edwards. I live on North Hospital, and I'm one of the trainers at Fully Loaded Canine Academy. You may know who we are. We have done lots of work with the Jacksonville shelter. As of the last 2 years, we've raised over $4,000 for the dogs in the shelter and for medical care. I have worked with these dogs in the shelter. They have come into our facility and been adopted out through the help that we do. None of these dogs that have come into our facility have left the same dog. Once you take them out of that environment that they are pinned in, their true personalities shine through. These dogs that are reactive, that bark, that have been deemed a bite risk due to something in their past, it's always due to socialization, fear, things that can be negative traits towards a dog. But when they are put through those trainings, when they are shown compassion and kindness through our hearts, they truly do change. Fully Loaded is prepared to give any pit bull a full 6-week class of basic obedience. No charge to the city, no charge to the parents. We truly care about these dogs. We want them to survive. We care about them truly. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else wish to talk? Let's see.
I'm Gary Fletcher, and I'd like to thank the council and the mayor for allowing me this opportunity. Brian and I are real good friends and talk quite a bit, and Brian was telling me he was bringing this up. And of course, he knows my position on this because I was part of the committee and part of the council at the time that passed this ban several years ago. We did all we could back then. I've been on council 30 years and I was mayor for 10 years. So in 40 years, we've dealt with the issue of pit bull dogs off and on several times. But I'm thinking roughly about 15 years ago, we formed a committee, and we had Dr. Misak on there, a local veterinarian, trying to find a middle-of-the-road approach of how to deal with this issue. And quite honestly, and the gentleman from Harold Street, I remember him and his son sitting right here. His son, I think at that time, was like 12 years old. Susan remembers this, wearing a pair of shorts, and his legs looked like road maps, how they were tore up. That was the night we passed that ban, quite honestly. There are good people in here. They're all here because they love their animals, and I've got a dog myself. It's not a pit, but it's a different breed. And I understand the emotion, but a reason I came tonight was to let you know why we got to where we're at. And what really brought this created committee in the first place was there was an elderly couple in Foxwood taking an afternoon walk in their neighborhood. And there was a pit bull dog in the backyard. Rita, you may remember what happened. And the pit bull dog somehow chewed through the fence. I didn't know they could do that. And went after the couple and got the old man, the elderly gentleman, down on the ground. And the poor little lady was trying to get the dog off. And the neighbors finally heard the screaming going on, and they got him rushed to the hospital. And it was a bad situation. And that's when we knew we had to deal with this issue. Nobody knows, we don't brand on someone's head whether they're a good pet owner or a bad pet bulldog owner. But your charge and my charge at that time was for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Jacksonville. We need to do all we can. And so we passed the ban. I remember, but it comes up every now and then. So when I was mayor in my office, I kept a file on pit bulldogs, the dangers about them. And, we've forgotten maybe, but there was a gentleman in Pine Bluff taking his car to get it fixed and was killed by 2 pit bulldogs. A lady in Hot Springs went to shop for groceries coming back to her condo, and a lady was babysitting a pit bull. My time's up.
Yeah, you get a few more seconds. Go ahead.
But anyway, the bad thing is the bad situations affect people, and my concern is why do if we forget our history of why we got to where we're at, we're going to repeat these same situations again, which means for us that somewhere down the road, we're going to have some more victims somewhere, especially if we lift our ban and make it easier. Now, Brian brought up the fact that one of our issues is the fact we've got a lot of the dogs in the animal control.
Okay, your time's up. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not got to be fair to everybody. Yeah, I mean, the rules are the rules. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak that's here?
So my name is Bonnie Paul. I'm one of the officers here at the animal shelter.
And you live in Jacksonville?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Speak in the mic.
Tell your name and where you live.
Bonnie Paul. I'm one of the officers here for the animal shelter. I just kind of wanted to give a little highlights about I have been raised around pits my whole entire life since the age of 2. I have a 20-year-old son that started out with his own kennel. We bought land outside of city limits. And since the age of 16, my son has bred, and he is a very big time breeder. He sells all across the United States. And this year alone, my son has already made $50,000, and all of these dogs are like trying to stack blue ribbon winners, and none of them, all it comes down to is the breeding of the animal, the way that it is raised. You have to socialize it. Kids have to be taught to respect the animal. There's just so much to it. It's not just a breed specific. Any dog can be dangerous. Any dog will attack anybody. It's all about training. Just like they said at Fully Loaded Canine, any dog can change. But if you steadily tell your dog, watch it, watch it, watch it, you're instilling negative behaviors into this dog. So I roughly gave each of you a packet. Before the meeting started, I laid it up there before you. If y'all would please take the time to read it, it is actual facts. The last pages have pictures of dogs and their breeds, and it is a bite pressure. It lists their PSI. And I mean, it just ranges. Pits do not have a locking jaw. That is 100% false. Never in my 35 years have I ever, and I've been around thousands of dogs. So I would just really like for you guys to read it and just kind of second, just to give it a chance. Because we could really use it at the shelter. I mean, we hit the ground running, and these dogs, people don't want to come and get their pets because they know they're going to have to pay a fee, so therefore they don't want to pay this fine. They don't want to come and get their animals. So yeah, the city is spending more money, and we're surviving on donations to constantly feed them to get their animals vet care because they just get abandoned because they're scared of the consequences of when we have to take their animal.
Okay, and your 2 minutes are up. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
my name's Christine Henderson. I live at 1008 Greyland Drive. I've lived in Jacksonville since 1974. I am the president and co-founder of Jacksonville Friends of the Animals. I've been volunteering at the animal
Appreciate your
shelter.
good work.
Thank you. I've been volunteering at the animal shelter since 2012. I take the photographs of all the dogs. I don't care what their label says, if they're pit bulls, whatever they are. Some animals are a little iffy, and they'll be warned about those, not necessarily pit bulls. We've got a Rottweiler right now that I know not to touch. The pit bulls, I go into their cage, I invade their personal space, I put what must feel like a noose to them around their neck. Sometimes they don't want to come out, I'll give them a little drag. I have never, ever felt intimidated or threatened by a pit bull at the animal shelter. And when you see the photographs on Facebook, I'm the person behind the camera. I'm the one taking the photographs.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
No one's wanting to speak, so yeah, you can come ask your
I
question.
just have one question. The ban was passed in Jacksonville.
Okay, state your name again so we can get
Okay.
it in the public record.
Sorry. Debbie Farner, and I live in Stonewall. My question is, was that the mayor that
That's
came up to
former
talk?
Mayor Fletcher,
Okay,
yes.
he said there were 3 incidents in Jacksonville that caused this to be.
There was multiple incidents, but I don't know.
Okay,
He
I heard
may
him
just
say
be
3 in
referring to
Jacksonville, and then he
3,
said 1 in Hot Springs, and another one. There's 28,500 people in Jacksonville?
Well, there's almost 30, there's 29,000
Okay.
something,
And
580 or something.
there was 3 incidents in Jacksonville.
No, that's not correct.
That's what I heard him say.
No, ma'am, that's not correct. There's been way more than 3. This year alone, we've had 8 pit bull bites.
Bites. How many other bites have you had?
7.
Yeah.
7. Different dogs, not pit bulls.
Not pit bulls. All the other breeds combined.
Yeah. And how do you know that those 8 were pit bulls?
Because they told us that they were.
The animal
The
shelter.
animal shelter told us they were.
The animal shelter told you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that was my question.
Not
I wanted-
against you, but you asked the question. I mean, that's what they told us. All
No, that's what I wanted to know.
right.
Right.
And like I said before, over 60% of the time they're misidentified even by shelter personnel and vets. So who knows if they actually
Thank
were.
you.
Okay, that's
May I
that's my
make a
question.
comment?
Yes.
The animal shelter give us the number of bites for, I think, the last 2 years.
Mhm.
1 year, their numbers said 33% of the bites were from pit bulls. The second year said the number was 40% of the bites were from pit bulls. These bites are all from a breed that's not even supposed to be in the town right now.
Right, I see something about you can have a special permit or something, but obviously people have them if they're in the shelter.
They're
But-
not allowed, there's no.
What I just read in here about this permit you can have.
That's what they're trying to get.
Oh, that's what they're trying to get past?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. That's what you want them to have? They should be able to be a dog just like any other dog.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, since I think public, Councilmember Bolden.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out, giving their mindset on their stance on this situation. It was something that was stated bothered me. We're saying that people don't want to live in Jacksonville because we have a pit bull ban. There are people that want, listen.
Yeah,
There are
he's
people,
speaking.
there are people that don't want to live in Jacksonville because it's dry. There are people who did not want to live in Jacksonville when I was on the school board because we didn't have our own school. So it's not just the pit bull situation. There are many dynamics. A lot of times when we're trying to push an issue, we'll take one thing and say, this is what. But I've been a public official for quite a while, and there are people who will not live in Jacksonville because it's dry. They want their steak and their beer. And we don't do it. So it's not just a pit bull situation. Just want to make sure I clarify, because that really bothered me when that was said. No,
ma'am, he's speaking.
Let me say this. Let me say this very clearly.
Brian, put your hand down.
Let me say this. Let me say this very clearly, because I heard someone say I don't care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't have ran for office. I care for the city, but I also know my job is to make sure that there's a clear mind in effect. We've got to look at the total concept, because if we change anything, not saying we won't, but if we change anything, that means everybody up here is accountable for any attacks on any people in the future, and that's where you got to look at it. Thank you.
Councilmember Levin.
Yeah, I just want to add on. I just want to add on to what Councilmember Bolden just said. Like, it is true. There are people that don't want to come here because it's wet. There were people that did not want to, that are because it's dry. There are definitely people that did not want to come here because of the schools, and there were people that didn't want to come here because of pit bulls. But I mean, we've actively tried to change those other things because we felt that they needed to be changed. So why is this any different?
Okay, I was going to ask Chief Hibbs, Chief Laffey, and former head of Animal Control to speak before I close the public hearing, and I had a couple things I'd like to say. So does anybody down here have comments before Chief speaks? Okay. Yeah, any microphone's fine.
All right.
So you do need to state your name.
All right.
I know where you live.
Most of you know me. Chief Police Brett Hibbs. I've lived in Jacksonville all my life, been at the police department for 27 years. I've done tons of research on this. I've discussed it with many people. I've watched many videos. I've seen a lot of dog attacks. My perspective on this is one of public safety. And the pit bull, there's lots of pro-dog stuff. There's lots of anti-dog stuff. If you wade through any of that, it's hard to get to any justifiable conclusion. It's kind of like doing gun research. There are no good statistics. It's all slanted one direction or the other. And which I'm also a proponent of guns and a concealed weapon instructor for many, many years. I'm pro-gun, but I can tell you there's lots of, it's the research. There's no good research anymore. When I dove into this pit bull stuff, and it started, I think, last year, I see both directions. I see both ways. There are tons of research that says the pit bull, the bites, if you just count the bites, the pit bull, 6 times more likely to bite than any other dog, namely the Rottweiler, which is in second place. They are 60, it's the temperament. 52% of the bites are on household members. A family dog's biting somebody in their own household. 52% of the fatalities. They do maul. They don't lock the jaw. They have a 300-pound PSI bite. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest. It's somewhere in the middle, but it's the sharpness of the teeth, the temperament, and the bite. As a public safety perspective, all the research that I've done, the videos, everything that I've looked at, if a dog sees somebody walking down the road, it can jump the fence and get out, it's going to attack. That's what dogs do. All dogs attack, but the pit bull attacks at a much higher rate than any other dog that's out there.
Okay.
And I've got a whole bunch of stuff I can say, but I'll keep it kind of short.
All right.
I have discussed this with Fire Chief Laffey, and I think we both agree this is for us, it's a public safety perspective, not whether or not I care about the dog or not. I am an animal lover. I do love dogs. I have a Weimaraner, best dog I ever had, and but I've owned the pit bull also. Never had a problem. I'm going to tell you from the research, the numbers say this dog bites way more than any other dog.
Okay, thank you, sir. Chief Laffey, would you care to speak? I'm going to call. Do you have a comment you'd like to make, ma'am? Restate your name if you want to ask the chief a question or something.
My name is Kathy Wade-Camper again, and I just wanted to say a lot about the research, and I know that I have gone and looked at the research that people have sent me to look at, the vicious things or the negative things about the pit bulls. And I did look at them, and I've also researched, and I hope you all looked at the email that I sent you, that I linked the different organizations, the professional with the experts on it.
Yes.
And I think you have to kind of look at where you're coming from on the experts and the organizations. I'm not saying that somebody's looking at the wrong things. I just hope you all read what I showed, because it was veterinarians, it was Animal Justice League. I mean, you all saw it, and I hope you read it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. I was listening
Okay.
again.
Chief Laffey, you want to speak from an EMS standpoint?
My turn. I've heard what everyone has to say. I'm not going to restate everything. I'll try to do it in 2 minutes. I don't know if I have to, but everyone else did,
You know,
so
it's close
I've
to
never
you.
been
I
accused of
hadn't
making my
stopped
point in 2
everybody
minutes.
2 minutes either, so.
So I'll just run through a couple of things. I think that we're all governed by our perspectives. Everything that we look at is based on our life experiences. I can tell you that if you've never stuck your fingers in the carotid of a 4-year-old to keep her alive, you have a different perspective than I do. But I will tell you that I've been on 13 or 14 dog bites. And in my experience, 12 were pits and 1 was a Rottweiler. Or Doberman, actually. It's not that you may allow 2 pit bulls per house that scares me. It's that with my property, that means 6 will be around my fence line. 2 on either side and 1 in the back if they all choose to have 2. I have an in-home licensed daycare. At any given time, I've got 8 children out there under the age of 5. That scares me. What we do today is not going to change a pit bull's behavior. They don't understand chipping or licensing or any kind of training. And as far as the I'm talking about the handler training, not training for themselves. As far as the argument that it's the owner's fault if the dog bites, that means the owners are 5 times less capable of being trained. That's the argument that I'm hearing. If they're biting 5 times as much and we're blaming the owners, what are we saying about the owners? They're not capable of learning how to be trained for these dogs? It makes no sense to me. Maybe it's the people we don't trust, not the dogs. Either reason, I'm not for it from a public safety perspective.
Thank you. Jamie, do you want to speak? All right, I'll give you your 2 minutes.
That's not cool, man.
Let's state your name and where you live.
So, I'm Jamie Parker. I live over in North Lake. I've had dogs my whole life. Never had a pit, but working at the animal shelter, I was close with a lot of the pits that we have there. Haven't saw any aggression out of any of them. We have sent several of them to fully loaded, and they've got trained. Every dog that they take has been adopted. Sad that they have to be adopted outside the city limits of Jacksonville. But a lot of people like the pit bulls. You can be bit just like with a Chihuahua. I've got numbers that show that Chihuahuas bite just as much as any other dog that you have. A lot of it, and I understand everybody's, perception, all the numbers that you see, you'll see numbers anywhere on the internet for anything you want to Google and find. Okay? But people and dogs. Dogs are man's best friend, woman's best friends. And a lot of it does depend on how you raise them. I mean, it's the same as how you raise a kid. Yeah, they say dogs will snap at you. Well, kids will snap just as much. I don't have kids of my own, but I got nieces and nephews, and I've totally seen it. But everybody and every animal deserves a chance. I mean, there's no reason why I should have to sit here and say, well, he's a pit. He's sweet. This shepherd over here is mean. Well, I'm going to have to put the pit down because it's a pit. That's not how I should have to decide how I have to put down an animal in my shelter if I have to put one down. There's not a vicious dog in any of that in my shelter. Pit, shepherd, Rottweiler, anything I have down there. And like I've said before, I welcome any one of y'all to come down there and visit any pit that I have in that shelter and take them out to the dog park and spend some time with them. There's not a single aggressive one in there. And they deserve their chance to be out and have a good, loving home just like any other animal in this city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Oakley, would you care to close us out here? Jimmy Oakley, he used to be over animal control. He was director of animal control for a while.
I was director of public works. Heidi was the manager of animal shelter, and she may be able to correct me. I'm doing this from memory from 15 years ago when we done this ban. And just off the top of my head, we had a height of dog bite cases of about 70. That was a big number for us, for Jacksonville. And at least half of those were pit bulls. And the severity of bite cases was pit bulls. When we done the ban, the numbers just about cut in half, and it became a safer city. But during that same time, when we done this back 15 years ago, we had a rash of people. They was fighting. There was a lot of crime. There were fighting dog pit bulls. That was a big thing around the country. I don't know if we have that today like we had across the country, but it was a safer city once we banned it. And I'm with Alan too. I don't want my grandkids around 12 pit bulls around their backyard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I know I'm not a resident. I just have a question to clarify. Are we talking about pit bulls as the catch-all? Because of course it's going to be skewed that high when you've got 6 breeds listed here considered pit bulls. If we're talking about pit bull, American Pit Bull Terriers, American Staffordshire Terriers, are they broken down breed by breed?
I mean, if the ban's lifted, it would be, I think, across the board.
The data that's being presented is that number, of course, it's going to drop by half when you're taking 7 dog breeds away from it. If those go away, then yeah, Labradors statistically are number 2. Are we going to ban Labs next? When someone's bitten by a lab, the blood's going to be on their hands.
Okay, this isn't part of the public hearing. You're glad you asked questions, but there's not an ordinance. Well,
Can we get that answer from the animal?
Can we get that answer?
Yeah, can we get that?
Chief.
Can you rephrase the question?
They're asking if the number of pit bull bites that's listed, the numbers that were given, are those specifically pit bulls, or is that what is encompassed on the ordinance
Is it,
as an aggressive brand? Like, is it the terriers,
The numbers I had were just nationwide. Are you asking for monthly report bite numbers?
No.
Jacksonville numbers?
Is pit bull broken down in the ordinance? Like there's like 6 different.
Like the national dog
yeah.
bite statistics, the pit bull's the highest. Second was Rottweiler. If we lifted the ban here, the pit bull still exists and nationwide. And I'm not talking Jacksonville bite statistic. I'm talking I don't think I'm answering
I
the
don't
question.
think we break it down.
I don't think I'm.
The term pit bull is a catch-all. Just like saying that I've got a retriever. Well, is it a Labrador retriever?
That gentleman has no right to speak. He's outside of the city. He has no right to speak in this meeting.
Same question. I'll ask it.
That's fine. That's fine. No, we're trying to answer the question.
I'm gonna help him explain it because I understand what you're trying to say. Danielle DeAngelis, 800 Burgundy Court, right here in Jacksonville. He's saying that the pit bull, according to the Jacksonville, this stuff is listed that is a umbrella. That term is an umbrella for 6 different breeds. Now, if you take the pit bull, the statistics, are they saying that that is the umbrella of those 6 breeds? Because that's not a fair statement. That's not a fair statistic if you're going to compare 6 breeds and say that is one percentage
I don't know.
versus one breed as the other percentage. Does that make sense? Like
What's
6
the-
different breeds being put together as one group.
What statistic are you referring to?
Any of them. Any of them.
The
pit bull is not
bloodline,
an
the
actual
pit-
breed.
The American Staffordshire, the pit bull, the American bull terrier, that's all the bloodline considered. The pit bull is a short name for it that we're all referring to, all the same dog. It's
So
the
it's
bloodline.
not, so all of the statistics are shaded because that is putting 6 breeds. So that means that for every 1 bite for a golden retriever and 1 bite for an American Staffordshire Terrier should be counted because those are individual breeds.
I see what you're saying, but I don't, for time's sake, I didn't break it down to each specific one.
Okay, so
But it
you've got
it
your
should be
question.
because it-
We don't have the answer to your question or his
can I-
question.
Well, just keeping in mind that that is 6 breeds and an umbrella.
Can I say something, so? And I wasn't here when the ban was put into effect. And that sheet I do not have with me, but it is 6 specific breeds of pit, anything mixed with pit bull. The basis of what they are designated as from the shelter standpoint is anything that resembles a pit falls under that ban.
Exactly, but that's 6 different breeds that are being, so the statistics are going to be higher because there's six times the chance for one of those bites to be counted as a pit bull bite than any other breed because they're grouped and the other ones are left separate, is what we're saying.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So those statistics for pit bulls should be split up within their own individual breeds as any other retriever is split up into their own actual breeds.
Like
Golden
I s-
retrievers and labs are not put in the same bite count.
Like I said, I wasn't here when
Yeah.
the ban was enacted. That's just the guideline that I have, and that's the guideline that I go with.
That's the wording of the ordinance, too.
Yes.
Well, yeah, no, we understand the wording of the ordinance. So any retriever bite, Labrador or golden retriever or any other one should be put as one retriever. So then now go back and look at your statistics and see what all retrievers in the umbrella compared to all of those. So if you're gonna umbrella one, umbrella all of them. That's how I see it.
Any council member wish to say anything before I close the hearing? Go ahead, Councilmember Levin.
My father has dealt with cancer his whole life, and he had a service dog that passed away. That was a pit bull by the name of Zoe, and I've had a couple of instances where we've done stuff with the city with the name Zoe and everything. Like this animal was there for my father when I wasn't able to be there, and it was like absolutely the sweetest dog because it was raised to be the sweetest dog. It was given love, so it gave love, and I think that is with every single animal that happens. Like any dog that gets love is going to give love. Like it's not going to be like, man, you're nice to me, I'm probably going to bite you. Like that's not an actual thought process. The 87% of pit bulls that are in the animal shelter that make up what the animal shelter has right now, they were not picked up because they attacked anybody. They weren't picked up because of that. They were picked up just because they were a pit bull. Like that's the only thing. They were picked up just because they were a pit bull. And also, I understand that there has been bad things that have happened, but we can't keep living in the past. Like we can't let the past dictate us moving forward. Like there has to be change and there has to be progress. I'm pretty sure if I just want to continue to go back in time, I could find something to stop everything in all the ordinances. Like we need to move forward and we need to be progressive. And I think this is definitely something that should be passed.
And anybody else? Councilmember Sensi.
All right. My name is Terry Sansing. I'm on the city council. My charge on the city council is to do what I can to protect the citizens of Jacksonville. We have a number of pit bulls in the town that are being picked up because they are illegal to have in the town. The owners of these pit bulls are not following the law as it stands. There's a number of requirements in this prospective working ordinance. So many that I can say who actually believes that most people, you good people, will probably follow it. But there will be, for every good person that's following the ordinance, there will probably be a half dozen or more who have it and think, well, they'll just think I've got the ordinance. I will not vote to change this ordinance. I see it as my duty, and I've studied the stats, skewed or whatever you call it, but most of the victims have been children. Most of the victims have been children. 52% of the bites are within the household that the pet is in. If I can protect some children from being bit by an animal, and I like them too. My dad had one. But I will do what I can to make sure that the children in this town continue to be protected from somebody that is not treating their animal right, somebody that is not obeying the law. So I will not vote to change it.
Thank you.
With it debated.
Thank you. Anyone down here wish to speak?
Why are you punishing everybody because there's some people that don't want to follow the law? You're punishing all the citizens of Jacksonville, whether they want to have a beloved pet or not, because some people don't follow the law. That is
Would
not
you
fair
rather
to the
follow
citizens.
the law and know some people aren't and some children are injured because you got to have your privilege?
That is really unfair, because that is truly as good as say that to me. I love children, I love dogs, and I love people. But don't tell me that.
Okay, we need to, okay, we don't need to be arguing. We're having a hearing, and so, somebody did. Okay. Okay. Well, I thought we had everybody that spoke. We're not voting on anything tonight. Yeah, we don't speak over and over and over again, okay? You've had your 2 minutes, so thank you.
Can I speak again?
If there anyone else here that hadn't spoke that wants to,
Can I use the rest of my 2 minutes?
okay. I think you had about 30, 40 seconds left.
Okay. I'm a registered nurse. I've worked at Children's Hospital for 30 years. My practice is based on evidence. It's your duty to look at the evidence that the American Veterinary Medical Association, the NIH, the CDC. The CDC has brought us out of a pandemic, and the reason we're not drinking bleach. The CDC does not approve of BSL. Read the evidence.
Okay. We've been given evidence. Thank you. Okay. And before we're closed, there's something I wanted to say. You get one more lady? Okay. So,
No, there's two then. There's
okay. If you hadn't spoken, you live in Jacksonville, I'm going to still let you speak, even though I thought I had everybody that spoke that
Sorry,
wanted
I just have a
to.
question. I'm Mary John Kimbrough. I live on Green Acres Road here in Jacksonville. Maumelle and Cabot have repealed theirs recently. So we're not going to sit up here and say we don't think Maumelle or Cabot care about children. And we're not going to say they don't care about public safety, right?
No.
Because their police chief, dog fighting's illegal. They don't care if pit bulls are legal or not. They're still going to fight dogs. So that's not an argument. Why would you put your child in the backyard unsupervised? You don't do that. Because it doesn't matter if it's a chow, which I personally think are mean, a Rottweiler, you don't do that. Watch your children. Supervise your children. If your neighbor has a pit bull and you're that scared, build a bigger fence and watch your child.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Hannah Gordon. I live on Harold Street here in Jacksonville. I actually work, I'm a vet tech over at Boulevard in Maumelle, or it's in North Little Rock, but it's on, yeah, you know. And previously I worked at Aves, which to those of you who don't know is Arkansas Veterinary Emergency and Specialist.
Just a couple stories. One, when I worked at Ames, there was a pit bull that came in that got shot in the head. We were able to do what we needed to do with him with no sedation, no anesthesia, medicine whatsoever. He let us do whatever we wanted to do. He did not care. He wasn't in shock. He was just calm. He knew and he trusted us. And just recently here at Boulevard, we had one that came in that had a broken leg that had tried to get it fixed at a different vet clinic and it didn't work. And the bone was sticking out. And we were able to manipulate the dog's leg with no pain medicine, no anesthesia, and he was totally fine. It's not about the breed, it is about how they're raised. And like, not only that, but like, we have pets come in all the time that you can't even touch them without them like screaming and trying to bite you, but not once have I ever been scared of a pit, and I've worked in this field for 10 years.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? State your name and where you live.
I'm sorry, Kendall Snyder. I live in Forest Oaks subdivision.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Kendall Snyder.
You live where?
Forest Oaks subdivision here in Jacksonville. I've lived here for 40-something years. My career has also been as a firefighter paramedic. As was mentioned before, I have ran on many dog bites in Jacksonville and other cities that I've worked at. And I have seen many breeds of dogs bite kids. I also sent a email to all the council members with some statistics, some studies, some of the same things that's been mentioned, but a couple things I'd like to, and I worked in the city as a paramedic during the period we've talked about back many years ago. When the dog bites were going on, I was here as a paramedic and responded to some of that stuff. But anyway, a couple things I would like to point out. Some of the studies I think I sent out and some others that I didn't, but there's a big difference in dogs between family dogs and resident dogs. Many of the bites I have witnessed involve resident dogs. Those are dogs that live at a house in the backyard tied to a tree. They don't interact with the family. Those truly are the dogs that bite people, regardless of the breed. In a town like Jacksonville, where pit bulls are banned, quite often those type of dogs are pit bulls because they're not allowed to be out on the street. They put them in a pen, and then the kid that lives in the home goes out to play with the dog, they get bit. That's what truly happens. There's a lot of data to support that. If you want data. If you don't, then...
Okay, thank you.
Are you for or against?
I am absolutely 100% for removing the ban.
All right, we have another gentleman. Of course, we don't want to repeat ourselves, and so go ahead and state your name, where you live.
All right. Creed Knight, 307 Franklin Street. I would like to mention that Fully Loaded is offering to train these dogs and
Correct.
help them, which Animal Control has said they have released pit bulls to them, which have been trained and have been adopted and have had no issues.
Correct.
It is a solution to this issue. And they're offering it for no charge either, which can be promoted, right, to get these dogs fully trained and released to the public without fear. And that is what I would like to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before I shut it down, there's a couple of things I'd like to say. One, I'm going to ask the council to read the information that's given to you. I have this information, that's a study that's at your desk, the other information you've been given, and the emails you received. Please study, huh?
Studies from Canada.
I know that, and you don't have to be a mathematician to read it, but that's okay. I'm just asking you to look at everything and consider this. And one of the requirements is to have $300,000 of liability insurance. Mr. Dietz had asked you to find out how much that costs. I don't know if you did, but I did. I called my insurance agent, which is Gene Bowman, is now Seth Boyd Insurance Shelter. I called and asked, what would it cost for me to have $300,000 worth of liability? She said, it wouldn't cost you anything. You already have $1 million. I said, okay, what if I didn't? What's normal? She said $100,000. It'd be less than $100 a year to add that to your homeowner's insurance for $300,000. I said, what if you don't have homeowners? What if you rent? She said, you would have to buy a renter's policy, and it would be maybe less than $200 a year. And the other thing is some insurance, and she couldn't tell me which one, whether it was State Farm or Allstate, won't write that has Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, other breeds in the house. They will not write the insurance. So I don't know who can get the insurance. I don't know how it all works. I just know that Councilmember Deets had asked Mr. Blevins to get us. I went ahead and got that and wanted, and I want to thank everyone being here, expressing your opinions.
Can
And
I just say one thing about that insurance thing?
yes.
Real quick. So most of those insurance companies that won't cover a dog if it's on a aggressive breed list will, if the dog has taken a pass, the canine good citizen.
Okay, and all I'm saying is what I was told today. That's all I'm doing. I'm not passing judgment or saying anything. So at 7 o'clock, the public hearing is closed. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Well, let's let it calm down a second. Okay, now, if we're going to carry on the conversation, let's please take them outside the room. We're about to open the second public hearing. Okay?
Can you repeat that, please?
If you're going to carry on a conversation, please go outside in the foyer. If you're going to carry on a conversation, we're about to start another public hearing, and I don't want our conversations interfering with it. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, at 7:01, open the public hearing on proposed amending the ordinance 1601, permitted parking on the street, permitting parking on the street. Councilmember Bolden.
Yes. We're going to be discussing a while back, and I talked to my fellow council members, there was a law that was brought forward about parking on the street. So I did give a heads up. I talked to an individual who's interested to let her know this was going to come forward. So we're going to listen to them and see what it is that we can do to help. So we're going to open the floor for those who are for parking on the street and those who are against parking on the street. So whoever's for it, if you could come forward at this time.
And what he's referring to is back several years ago, we made it against city ordinance to park on the street. A couple of years ago, we amended the ordinance to allow certain parking on the street, certain times, not blocking, and following state law and not blocking the trash day. And you're not supposed to park on the street on trash day. And so that was changed 20?
It was 19.
19? Okay.
Yes. And a lot of that decision or conversation was around bringing the green space back to Jacksonville. Not every neighborhood is Foxwood or Stonewall. Not every home has a 2-car driveway. We were trying to get the vehicles out of the front yards when we voted on this. But I'm open to the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So now then, people in the public like to speak. Colonel, you can speak, that's fine. State who you are and where you live. And here again, we're changing the law.
Yeah, Mayor Johnson and,
Jacksonville.
members of the council. My name is Roy Hart. I've lived in Jacksonville since 1991. with my family. We have 2 Labradoodles, and they're very capable of licking you to death, so you have to watch them. When I left the service, we looked for a safe, well-kept neighborhood. And that was Jacksonville. And, we live in the Foxwood subdivision. Since that time, things in recent past, rather, have kind of gone downhill to the point where right down the street from me, we had farm equipment parked in the front yard. We have some sort of a mechanic business going on around the corner where 3 or 4 trucks are up on blocks, okay? On Foxwood Drive itself, there was a trailer left for a week or more, and it was outside the street light coverage, and it was a real hazard. I drive that road a lot. In fact, I stopped a police officer and said, would you look into this? I think this is an accident waiting to happen. I think we have to keep our neighborhoods up. Jacksonville's is on the rise with our new schools, and I think it would be foolish to let our neighborhood decline. And this is a small step in the right direction. I would hope code enforcement would kind of redouble what they do. I think we've got renters now that don't ever cut their grass. They don't take their trash cans in after they've been picked up. But it's important to keep our neighborhoods up. That helps every citizen. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to let Code speak before we're done, but anyone else here want to speak on this issue? Mr. Brown? State your name, where you live.
My name is Dan Brown. I live at 719 Foxwood Drive, the house with the elevator.
In the blue roof?
I've been fortunate enough to work for a large corporation, namely Anheuser-Busch and Philip Morris. I left Philip Morris a few years ago as vice president of operations, and I built all of the Miller Brewing Company plants. I have owned 9 homes. I have not, this is the first home that I have purchased or lived in that didn't have a homeowners association. The wife and I looked at lots of houses. We finally settled on Jacksonville because I have a farm in Newport, Arkansas, and several properties, rental properties, and I go over once a week, and this was convenient. Since I have, when the wife and when I moved into this house, I have changed everything. It was a beautiful, gorgeous house, not properly maintained. The wife and I agreed that whatever it's going to take, that we would spend it, and I have personally dug out overgrown plants. I got poison ivy from the fence in the back that was overgrown. I got
Excuse me, Mr. Brown, could I bring to your attention, because you have 2 minutes, if you could go directly into the park.
Does the 2-minute rule still?
Well,
that
I
being
didn't set the rule, but let's move along.
That being the case,
Really, I want you to address.
That being the case, the
what the
2-minute
problem
rule is this is a beautiful neighborhood.
Yes.
It was even nicer. It has been allowed to deteriorate. This rule of parking in the street does not benefit this neighborhood whatsoever. In all the places that I've ever been, I just can't believe that you would allow parking on the street. It's unsafe. There is a pontoon boat parked on the street, well, up until today, for the last 4 days. Only 1 car could pass at a time. People walk in this neighborhood. A pontoon boat? Well, anyway, I'm just asking. I invested in this neighborhood, and because I thought it was a beautiful neighborhood, I still do. This decision does not benefit the homeowners whatsoever. It benefits those people, those renters, those people who don't want to cut their grass. But the other 80, that's 20% of the other 80% of the people, they take care of their property. A house, I was taught and I know a house to be the largest investment that I have made in my life. I believe 90+% of the people feel that same way. You cannot compare a one-car driveway, a one-car garage with a two-car driveway that's 700 feet and 5-car garage. The one rule, you cannot make a rule that cover those two situations. They have to be separate. So I'm asking, I'm requesting that this rule be amended for different neighborhoods, and that one rule should not apply for an entire city, because the city is totally different.
Okay.
Thank you very
much. I'm going to let I'm going to recognize the city attorney.
Oh, before I talk to the
Yeah.
My only fear is if we have different laws or codes for different sections of the city. Can you hear me?
All right, get close.
Sorry. My only concern is if we have separate laws or codes for different parts of the city, that could be discriminatory in some ways. If people with the bigger houses and two-car driveways have one set of rules, and people with no driveways or single-car driveway have a different set of rules, to me that's hard to not seem somehow discriminatory.
May I respond?
Microphone. Go ahead, get to that microphone. We got to record you.
Right.
The government and the city looks at them differently. If you don't think so, a person with a $500,000 house pays a different dollar amount than the person with a $50,000 house.
You're talking about taxes?
Say again?
You're talking about taxes? What are you talking about? Okay.
Talk about what?
Taxes.
Yeah, I'm talking about taxes.
But they still get the same protection, same laws from the city. They still get the same fire service, the same trash pickup.
Right, and I'm going to have Code address some of the things that you brought up earlier about the pontoon boat or the trailer and the things of that nature, because, you know, those are code violations already. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Wright, if you would address code and parking in the street.
Okay.
And then I want to ask Chief Hibbs. I've already asked Chief Laffey, but he's not in here, and I'll speak for him about the problems of parking in the streets and responding to fires.
So, first of all, the current code states that as long as it is not blocking a city service, an individual may park in the street. If you look at our other neighborhoods other than Foxwood, take for instance Sunnyside, many of those houses down there do not have driveways. So they have to park in the street or they have to park in their yard. If they park in their yard, it's a code violation. If they park on the street, that's the only way they keep from having us hassling them about parking in
Well,
their yard.
everybody has a driveway.
So,
It may
there
not
are,
be very long.
Mayor, there are some places down in Sunnyside that do not have driveways.
Oh, okay.
So they're either parking in their yard or they're parking on the street. It's not a paved driveway that they have.
No, there's lots of gravel.
Feasibly, for us to enforce this ordinance, what's going to happen when if this were to get changed? Number one, people will stop parking on the street and will start parking in their yards. I can't force a person to get rid of their car. If they have 5, 6 cars there, I can't force them to get rid of their car. But if they can't park on the street, or they can't keep that out of the roadway or park temporarily in the roadway, if you're having a family get together and you park on the road and they call code, I mean, we're gonna come over and tag everybody's car and tell them to move them. They're gonna park in the yard, we're gonna have code violations there. I understand that if it is a traffic hazard and we get called out and it either violates a city service or it causes a safety issue, we will make contact with that owner or we will tow that car if it's causing a safety issue. But feasibly, for us to enforce that, it's going to cause more problems than it would to change that ordinance. It's going to cause more work and more headache than what it would just leaving the ordinance as it is.
And
Say that again, it's gonna cost you, right?
I said it's going to cause more work and more headache, and it's going to cause more frustration for the citizens because you're forcing them to park in their road or in their yards because they do not have a place to park their vehicle. And we can't just generally say, well, this only applies to Foxwood, but it doesn't apply to Sunnyside. You can't do that. It has to be across the board. We cannot designate ordinances for specific neighborhoods.
Could you address the boat and the trailer that are left? That,
So right now I have 2 code enforcement officers. We just hired a 3rd one. A lot of times these code violations that people talk about don't get reported to us, or we haven't seen them. If it's been reported to us, we put it in our queue and we investigate it. You can't park a pontoon boat on the road, and if you give me the address, I'll go over there and tag it right now. I mean, but you can't park it on the roadway, and if it's a traffic hazard, I'm gonna contact the owner and tell him to move it or I'm gonna tow it.
And it's against code to run a business.
Yes.
In your home. So a code violation, and we've had that happen.
Without a business
People have
license,
gone
yes.
over there, several things. And camper trailers cannot be parked in the driveway?
I'll have to verify that one. I believe a camper trailer can be parked in your driveway as long as it doesn't extend, or it has to be parked on the side of your residence but can't extend past the front of your residence.
Yes. Okay.
That's what it means.
Okay.
Just for clarification.
Yes, sir. Get up to the microphone so we gotta get you recorded.
Did I hear you say that it's costing, is it costing more right now than it did 2 years ago?
Well, it's not going to cost the city any money to enforce that, but what it's going to cost is the frustration on the citizens because you're going to go from one code violation to the other. Right now, by them parking in the street because they don't have enough space to park their vehicle there, if they have to start moving that into the yard, that's going to create a whole nother monster of code violations.
And I wanted to address your HOA, POA, where you want to call it. There's several neighborhoods in Jacksonville that have an HOA and a POA, and Foxwood has tried many times to get a POHOA, which can set its rules separate than what citywide is. And you're right, there's a lot of neighborhoods that the people in the POA police their own neighborhood, and your trash cans are put up. You are doing things like you're supposed to be doing them. And so I don't think a Foxwood POA would be a bad thing, but I lived there for a long time, and we tried 3 or 4 times to get a POA,
But
never got it done.
But any of those other violations such as grass, trash cans being out, as I get further staffed, we're going to have more coverage for that area. We're doing our best to keep up as we can right now.
And
if you call and report it, or if you report it on our code portal, we will come out and investigate it and find out whether or not there's a code violation there. But as far as right now, we're just fighting to keep up with the reports that we're getting. So,
and like Colonel Hart, you said there was a trailer parked in the road, and if we would have known it, we would have tagged it, they'd have moved
Absolutely.
it. We'd have moved it for them. And so, as citizens, we're asking, please let us know and we will help do our job. We can't be everywhere all the time. I actually drive around the city. How many times a week do I give you?
I probably get several text messages or phone calls from the mayor saying, hey, can you check this out? So.
And I drive around, and look, I've been over to right across from your house, down that street. We actually put a street light in down there because it was really dark at the end of that street over there. So, yes.
So I'm very familiar with the city council as far as.
Yeah, first of all, I think you heard him say cause, and you thought he said cost. I don't know if I'm wrong with that, but you said cost.
Okay, I did.
A couple times. I think you said cause.
Right. It's
Yeah,
not
I think you said cause, not cost.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Second of all, I know that we're coming out of the pandemic and the COVID situation, but there has definitely been a lot of issues with people losing their homes and losing their jobs, and a lot more people have had to consolidate into houses. Like, there's more people living in the houses than there were beforehand, because families are having to to group together, and that has also increased the number of vehicles per home because of the more people that are living in there. And again, absolutely in Sunnyside, there is no driveway. Like, you do see people driving on the street, but are parking on the street. It is something that happens, but there is like a lot more cars per house due to a situation that we were not prepared for to begin with. So I just want to point that out as a...
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against this discussion? Yes, sir.
Well,
you can say your name again. We know who you are. But.
We passed that no parking on the street when we went to automated garbage pickup because we didn't have the manpower to walk over, grab the garbage and put it in there. And it wasn't popular, quite honestly. Most people don't like to be told what to do. But the truth of the matter was, overnight, this town looked 100% better. It looked cleaner, it looked sharper and crisper. Had a house over on Johnson Street. We had a lot of 5 or 6 cars there. The problem with Sunnyside is it was built in the 40s when most people didn't even own a car, you know. And so it gets back to planning and the era. I wish there was something to do, and maybe the council can encourage the legislature to possibly pass some legislation to help places like Foxwood, who can't get 100% participation in a homeowner association, but if they at least had 90% or something like that, give them some hope, because that subdivision's always been a great subdivision, but it could be even better if it had some unity. I mean, Stonewall's, to me, always stand, we was talking about this today.
Yeah.
Stonewall's 50 years old, and it still maintains this crispness about it because of people more involved in their community like that. But people didn't think about it.
It's all about planning, wasn't it?
But when they started Foxwood back in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, homeowner associations wasn't no big thing back then. Now, it wasn't like, but in hindsight, we ought to be able to go back and fix those problems to improve our neighborhoods, because great neighborhoods make a great city.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Okay, council member Bowman.
Okay, those who are here, including Mr. Brown, the reason I wanted it brought before the council is so now we can sit down and discuss it. We can see if there's anything we can do. You know, we never know. It might be you park on one side or whatever. We might be able to work something out, but I wanted you to come forward and voice it. One thing I want to stress also, the word neighbor. Neighbors need to work together. If an individual comes to you and say, sir, have you considered not parking on the street? Don't cuss them out. Don't act a fool. Be cordial to each other. You know, even in our neighborhood, if something doesn't go right and they come to me, or so I go to somebody and I let them know, hey, you know, if they come at me the wrong way, Chief gonna see me. So, you know, I'm just keeping it real. I try to be polite to everybody. And I know for a fact, in one of the incidents dealing with this in Foxwood, the individual went, talked to the individual real nice, he tried to get it, and he went flat to left field. So let's remember we're neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Am I closing? No.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Reedy. Reedy, you want?
Okay.
He wants to ask a question, but if you want to address
What I want to
it.
know is that Colonel brought up a thing saying the guy got a mechanic shop in the cross down the street. Now, I never lived in a subdivision, but all of my friends and relatives and things live in subdivisions. They signed a paper saying, I will not have cars, broken down cars in my yard.
A bill of assurance,
I will
that's
not
correct,
have
sir.
Broken down cars in here.
Bill of assurance, I think.
Okay, now, and we can't tag those places.
So I know what Chelsea's talking about.
Running a mechanic shop down
I know what Chelsea's talking about. Unless I can prove he's actually running a business and receiving money for.
the car things is on blocks.
That's
Those cars
correct.
were removed.
Those cars were removed, but unless I can prove that he's receiving money for fixing those cars, I can't necessarily charge him with a business license. But what I can do, that residence has been cited on several occasions, and they do have time in court.
We cite them and they do it again.
We investigated it. We know about it. Okay.
Yes,
We've taken care of it multiple times.
I want to know we know
But he
about
goes
it.
and does it again. It's the
Reedy?
same thing over and over.
Brady, I've probably had at least 25 calls on this particular house, myself. I don't live in Foxwood, but I've had several phone calls from people that do. Code has been over there multiple times, and as soon as they get it cleaned up and they turn their head to go to another job, this guy's back at it again.
I don't think HOA or bill of assurance has anything to do with a renter.
Right, and we can't enforce.
Most of these people
I'll
are
let you
renters.
speak, Mr. Brown.
He doesn't own the house. There's no sign. She takes money, but we can't prove it without doing an
Right.
undercover operation or
I
something.
understand that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he don't admit it.
Mr. Brown, I'm gonna let you close this out. You know, come up to the
I think we
microphone.
know the house that we're talking about. I'm talking about the house that's behind
Come to the microphone.
the church on Northeastern. I have old cars, and my friend owned old cars. His name is, and I asked him if I could use his name. He said yes. That house behind the church. Anyway, Earl and Dorothy just moved to Sherwood. He sold his house, sold it in a week. And he went right and bought the house in Sherwood, and in the meantime, closing came about. And at closing, the bank came in and announced that, Mr. Rogers, we know you sold your house for $227,000, but we're going to have to reduce the price by $37,000 because your neighborhood does not support the $227,000. So what?
As a city,
What that property that you refer to, and it's been there since I've been here, it cost Mr. Rogers $37,000.
correct.
The city don't have nothing to do with that.
It took a week to get the real.
Well, that house, I'm just saying, that guy has been, that is the most abusive violation of code that I've seen in my life. And it's been going on
You're
for the
always-
6 years
you're
that I've
always
been here,
welcome to call
and it
me
hasn't
or
changed,
Dennis
it's gotten worse.
And
So
we'll
code
address it.
enforcement.
Colonel Hart.
I guess I got 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good point about the people without driveways, and I wish them, you know, the best of luck, that maybe the next home, they'll have more room. But I think it's a very slippery slope if we define our neighborhoods by, the lowest standard in the whole city. I mean, we want to attract military retirees, we want to attract business, we want to make our city grow. To me, it's just a slippery slope. I can understand how tough this would be to enforce. I would hope the enforcement of something like these new parking restrictions would be very low level. A sticker on the windshield. We notice that you park overnight here. I've read this thing. There's a lot of exceptions to it, a lot of exceptions. But I would hope the enforcement would be very low level. We're not trying to run anybody out of town or cause anybody to have a big fine or anything like that. We're trying to keep our neighborhoods as good as we can, because that sells homes, that brings people to Jacksonville.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Blims, you have something you needed to say before we're...
I was just wanting to say the term low standard is just unfair. Like the people that live in the low to moderate income, areas, they just can't afford that, and they're doing the best of what they have. So to consider them the lowest standard, I think is a very unfair thing to say.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's okay. We're not going to argue. We're not going to argue. Thank you.
I mean, are you going to pass laws for people with no driveways? Is that the standard?
Okay, at 7:27, we're officially closing the public hearing. Thank everybody for speaking. Any announcements to come? Anybody have announcements to make?
Yes, if I
Yes.
could, we'd like to congratulate Goodsell Trucking here in the city. They got recognized for being #1 in the state. So we'd like to celebrate that with them. And also, I want to remind all men, this is Men Help Month, so go get yourself checked so you make sure you're healthy and able to live to 100.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Could I,
Got a second?
Mayor, could I give one
Okay.
thing real quick on the
Yes.
announcements? I'm sorry.
Sure.
The community outreach meetings
Okay, yes.
we're gonna be having.
Yes.
Tuesday, June 7th, we'll be having it for Ward 2 at First Baptist Church. If anyone is interested, Wednesday, June 8th, we have Ward 4 and 5 at Jacksonville Community Center. And then Thursday, June 9th, we have the community outreach meeting at
Senior Citizen Center.
the Senior Citizen Center for Ward.
It's not a town hall, but reach out to each neighborhood.
Tell us what your.
And I want them to come with their crime ideas, concerns in their neighborhoods, what, things we could do, and mainly address the crime and what's going on in their specific neighborhoods. It's kind of like a neighborhood watch, except it's a meeting where we're going to have them come discuss specific wards. Instead of doing neighborhoods, we did wards. And mainly it's about crime and discussion and things that we have going on. And some of the steps we're taking currently and what's going on, we want to address those and spread our app, neighborhood app and all that stuff.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? All right, I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. We're adjourned.